Hello, and welcome back to the 5-Minute Bible Study. Now, in the last episode, we looked at verses 5 to 9 of Hebrews 1, and we started to see why the writer had to establish Jesus as being superior to the angels. We're going to look at verses 10 to 14 today. He also says, "In the beginning, Lord, you laid the foundations of the earth, and the heavens are the work of your hands. They will perish, but you remain. They will all wear out like a garment. You will roll them up like a robe. Like a garment they will be changed, but you remain the same, and your years will never end." To which of the angels did God ever say, "Sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet"? Are not all angels ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation? So in the verses leading up to this, we had previous quotations from the Psalms, and there's another one here from Psalm 102. And in that, the unknown author is talking about the eternal nature of the God that he is appealing to, the one whose creatorial power brought the world into existence. Now he's speaking to God, and the writer of the Hebrews is now saying, well, this applies to the Son of God. It's interesting when we think about the beginning, isn't it? Matthew begins his gospel with the birth of Christ, but precedes it with the genealogy back to Abraham. Mark begins his gospel at the beginning of the public ministry of Jesus. Luke begins his gospel at the birth of Christ, but John begins his gospel in the beginning was the Word. Establishing that Jesus himself was there in the beginning. Jesus is not a being that God has brought into existence at the time of his birth, but one who was always there, was there in the beginning and is now. Now, the heavens and the earth that it mentions in verse 10 will perish. We know that heaven and earth are going to pass away, but we know that everything that is of the old order is replaced by what is new through Christ. And that's really one of the main themes of this epistle, is that the old order is going to be replaced by something new because of everything that the Lord Jesus has done. He is the one who remains. He is the one that chapter 13 says Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and to the ages to come. The thought is here with the thought of a garment and a robe, is that whilst we might look at this world and the heavens and everything in the universe and think of some sense of permanence there, that God, who was the one who spoke them into existence by his powerful word, could simply roll them up like we might do with a piece of clothing. But God is all-powerful and God is eternal. He remains the same. Your years never end. And that should give us confidence that however weak and helpless we might be, and even aspects of this creation might be, that the God of the universe is all-powerful, is permanent, he is eternal. And we realize that as we are identified with Christ, as we are brought by him into God's presence, that we are given that power and we are given the hope of eternal salvation, which means that we can share eternity with Jesus. Now, the point of verse 13, which is a quotation from Psalm 110, is that Jesus can take a place of authority and superiority at the right hand of God that no angel can take, because Jesus has finished the sacrificial work that no angel could have done. We see later in the epistle the thought of Jesus as high priest being actually able to sit down because of the work that he has finished. In the old tabernacle system, the priest could never sit down in the presence of God, and there was always work to be done. But because Jesus had gone into the tabernacle with his sacrifice once for all, that meant that that aspect of his work was completed, and so he could sit at the right hand of God. And so this final thought in verse 14 of angels being ministering spirits would have been consistent with what the author's audience would have believed concerning angels. We've now established that Jesus is superior to the angels, but this final thought is that the angels are serving those who will inherit salvation. That's us. We inherit an eternal salvation through our faith and belief in Jesus Christ, and I believe that there is a tremendous angelic protection, presence of angels in this world, protecting all those who believe and trust in Christ. I hope there have been some helpful thoughts in our Bible study today. We know that in 5 minutes we're never going to do more than just scratch the surface of the scriptures that we're reading, but hopefully there's a few starting points for your own study, for you to go away and think about and reflect on these things and read up in a little bit more detail if you have the time. Next episode we'll make a start on chapter 2 of Hebrews. Until then, goodbye and God bless.